What's up, Guardians? I am the Hunter Specialist, and welcome to the final episode in my pre-DLC Hunter build walkthroughs. In this video, I will be covering 3 Night Stalker, or Void subclass builds. As with all my Hunter builds, these will focus on different playstyles or built around specific activities. It is intended as a beginner's guide and will only cover pre-DLC content. If you have already watched my previous episodes, welcome back, and if this is the first time you are joining me, I hope this video is helpful, and be sure to check out my other subclass build walkthroughs. On to my first Void subclass build I call the Dual Wield. We're going to start this edition with another gear set built around specific weapons. That's right, the Rat King. I know the initial excitement about this sidearm was high when the game first came out, then quickly faded into obscurity. I have always found this gun useful. I do need to clarify, this build was built around the Rat King, however, the Rat King is not what makes this build special. What does make this build special is the ability to make your teammates and yourself invisible as often as possible. In order to make this work, we need to run the Way of the Pathfinder branch in your subclass tree. This gives you smoke bombs that render any ally standing in the vicinity invisible. This can definitely come in handy in any timed event, or anytime your team needs to be sneaky. Okay. So to recap a little before moving on with this build, we're using the Rat King, which allows us to go invisible when you reload after a kill, and we have smoke bombs that make us and our allies disappear as well. Now let's sweeten the deal a little. Activate Gambler's Dodge. Now you can dodge near enemies to get another smoke bomb, making your team that much more invisible. To boost that, make sure you have 3 ability mods and 2 melee mods active. Okay, here's where things start getting real fun. Since we're using the Rat King, it only makes sense to back it up with the Mechaneer's Trick Sleeves exotic, which grants increased sidearm ready and reload speed. And to get the most out of the Trick Sleeves, we run 2 sidearms, preferably the Rat King and the Last Hope, due to the high rate of fire, but a full auto sidearm works as well. Since you are in close range, remember your invisibility tricks. They can get you out of a serious jam. My next build is probably the most sought after Hunter build in Destiny 2 because it is the most devastating in PvP. I call this build the True Ninja. This build is similar to my Flash build. If you haven't seen my other walkthroughs, this one's in my Arc Edition. The main differences in these builds is that the Flash is faster and can take a little bit more damage, and the True Ninja can go invisible. They play very similar to each other, only before an encounter, the True Ninja dodges, which turns you invisible while using the Way of the Trapper's subclass branch. Since we're on the subject of dodging, I feel now is a good time to bring up which exotic armor we're going to be using. The lucky contestant is, drumroll please, Dragon Shadow Chest. Using this exotic boosts your weapons and your speed for 10 seconds. So if you dodge before an encounter, you enter it invisible and fast. And to add to the punishment you serve to your enemies, give them a little smoke bomb before that encounter. If they're disoriented, it'll make you that much more difficult to spot and visi you. Focus the armor mods on mobility and class abilities, since you want a 10 mobility rating and you want to be able to dodge as often as possible. I prefer Gambler's Dodge because I've found it's the most useful in Crucible, along with Strafe Jump and your Void Wall grenades. As far as weapons go, the Quick Fang is a must, but all other weapons, choose your favorite PvP ones. I like using the Hard Light and a good submachine gun. For my final build in this series, I'm going to go over my raid build I call the Team Player. This build is centered around the Orpheus Rig exotic pants. When using these pants, you have the possibility to refill your super for as many times as you have enemy adds. In other words, the more enemies you tether with your super, the more super energy you get back, the more often you could use your super. The more tethered enemies you kill, the more orbs you make for your fire team, allowing your team to use their supers more and more. Aren't you just the nicest team player? This is especially helpful in the raid. To make the most of your Orpheus rigs, run the Way of the Trapper subclass branch. Because your super is a support, you're going to want to have high damage weapons to make up for it. I do switch weapons often throughout the raid, but some of my go-tos are the Ghost Primus, the Martyr's Make, the Cold Heart, the Sins of the Past, and It Stares Back. Being that you will be reloading often, the Marksman Dodge is ideal. I personally prefer Void Wall grenades in all my Void builds, especially in the raid. The triple jump works well in any jumping puzzle you may find yourself in. I apologize for the lack of raid footage, but when this video was made, I didn't have any that was appropriate. These have been the last 3 hunter builds in this series. I hope this video has helped you build or refine your hunter into another fun character. If you haven't watched my other videos, I suggest checking them out. If you like this video, please hit that button. Comments are much appreciated. If you have any other useful builds related to the Night Stalker subclass, please feel free to leave them in the comment section, along with any suggestions for future content. This has been the Hunter Specialist. Keep it classy, Guardians.